Hey everybody, good morning. I'm going to be bringing you 3 movies today, all from different platforms. The dog is here next to me, so it'll probably be kind of noisy. Anyway, none of them are great, but some of them might be interesting for you to watch. So, the first one is from Netflix. Of course, the sun's in my eyes, but that way hopefully you can see me and not just a shadow. The first one's from Netflix, and it is Angel Has Fallen. Now, I can be a sucker sometimes for just dumb, big, old action movies, throwback action movies. I hear you, girl. I hear you. This is one of the series that Gerard Butler's been doing. I think he did Olympus Has Fallen, and then London Has Fallen. Basically, all of them kind of follow a similar path, and that is he's a secret service agent. He's like the best secret service agent, and some terrorist act happens, and he's got to kind of go against all the odds and survive and get the bad guys. Unlike most of them, it's not super right-wingy, although it's definitely got elements of that. But here the bad guys are kind of these government black ops contractor types, and they're trying to get kind of create something to cause themselves to get a foot in the door for this lucrative government contract. And I guess the way I look at it is, if you look at the old days where you had Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone as kind of the primo action stars, and then you had someone like Chuck Norris as kind of the reliable yet like second tier guy, Gerard Butler's kind of the Chuck Norris of our age. Reliable, pretty good action, and you kind of know what you're going to get from him. So if you like action movies and that sort of thing, this one on Netflix isn't bad. Also, you do get Morgan Freeman as the president, of course. He doesn't do a whole lot. I would say one of the best kind of additions to this version of this movie is it's all in America, which is good. So you get a lot of there's a lot more stuff with survivalist types and off the grid types and all that kind of stuff. You get Nick Nolte as his dad, who's even a little more of he's great. At one point he even says to him something like, you're just one step away from being the Unabomber. So it's a very welcome addition to the cast in this movie. So if you like action movies, this is a good one for that type. It's on Netflix. I'd say about 3 stars. Solid. Rosemary, you're knocking over the table trying to get with your ball. She's making so much noise. Yes, you are. Okay, the next one's on Hulu, and it is called Little Joe. And when I first saw it, I thought, this looks kind of interesting. Looks kind of like a weird, independent, British horror sci-fi kind of thing, and it definitely is along the lines of another Black Mirror episode. I keep mentioning that because there's a lot of things are definitely influenced by Black Mirror. Basic concept is you have a woman who works for a botany genetics laboratory, and they're trying to create this new flower that is genetically engineered so that its pollen and its scent helps to create the endorphins that will produce happiness in the people who have the plant, and they're testing it. The main woman is Emily Beecham. She's a single mother, estranged from her husband, and she's got a young son, probably about, he's about 11 or 12, and he is named Joe. So she names this new strain that they have Little Joe. It looks really cool. The palette in this movie is highly vibrant, colorful. You've got almost a look of the early half of the new movie Swallow, as far as that kind of really austere, designed out look with really bright and pastels and all these colors, really vibrant. That's the best part of this movie. Now, and the plant itself is kind of cool. It looks like this red, almost like the dandelion when it's getting ready to seed. It'll open up really slowly and put out its pollen, so it's kind of evil or it's causing trouble. The problem is, and this is once again kind of a spoiler, but I don't really care, it's basically just another version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So what I would say is, if you really want to check this out, go for it. It's not terrible, but it's been made so many times in one version or another, and they don't really acknowledge that this is what this movie is, but it's so obvious. So I would say, number one, go back, watch the late 70s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Leonard Nimoy. It is by far the best of all of them. The original one from the 50s is also quite good, but the 70s one is amazing, and it's not really watched that much or even talked about that much. Go watch that Invasion of the Body Snatchers instead of this movie. Other things to say about this movie is it's a slow burn. It's not near as creepy as it thinks it is. And the soundtrack is this kind of faux Asian experimental music soundtrack that just is absolutely jarring and intrusive and unnecessary, and it's supposed to be telling you how creepy certain things are when it really isn't done that well. So I would say you can skip this one. For me, it's only about 2.5 stars. But that is on Hulu if you really want to go check it out, or at least take a look at what it's like. The third one I watched is a very bizarre one. It is on Amazon Prime. A Japanese movie from the last few years called Vampire Clay. Now, I think that actually is obviously it's obviously a translation. I think in Japanese it's probably closer to like Demon Clay, but either way, you get the idea. It's a weird concept. The basic idea is that this clay, this artist's clay, had been infused with the blood of its creator and kind of cursed. And it is a box of it, all powdered, is dug up by this art teacher. She has a little rural sculpture academy with like 5 or 6 students, very small. She finds this clay in a box that's still powdered. They add some water to it, and lo and behold, you've got this evil clay that slowly starts doing crazy things. So this is definitely one of those that could be so bad it's good kind of movies. On the good side, it's got a ton of really creative and interesting, really weird practical effects. I mean, it's got stuff that you've never seen in a movie before, and it was on the line in that aspect to go down the lines of being almost like an early Evil Dead style of wackiness and fun. But on the negative side, the filming style and the plotting and the music and everything is so terrible. I mean, the look and the plot of this movie is literally like Nickelodeon level horror. Like, I don't know, like Goosebumps from TV kind of a thing. It's really bad, and it detracts horribly from this movie, makes it almost unwatchable. But if you're into horrible, weird, crazy, unbelievably strange horror movies, if nothing else, if you're that kind of a fan, it is worth checking out the horror scenes in this movie. So either find a compilation or just go on Amazon Prime if you've got it and just fast forward to the clay practical effects parts. Some of it's stop motion, but most of it's not. Most of it's just practical effects. And just fast forward to those parts. There are quite a few of them, so it's entertaining as far as that goes. It's only about an 80-minute movie. You probably get a good 30, 35 minutes of trippy practical effects. So that part is worth checking out. That's Amazon Prime. And lastly, a bonus mini review. I wouldn't usually do this because I hardly ever stop halfway through a movie. But on Netflix, there's a new comedy called Coffee and Kareem. And it's by the guy who made Goon. Also, he made Stuber, I believe. Well, I'd heard lots and lots of bad reviews, but I'd heard a couple of good reviews, so I thought, I'll give it a try. And I had a friend online who had said, like, well, I would be curious to hear what you thought of it. So I went and checked it out, and I stuck it out for 30 minutes. 30 minutes, about is all I got out of this movie. For me, and I like some silly, goofy movies. I mean, I like my... I like movies like Young Frankenstein. I can get into that kind of, silly comedy if it's, kind of hits the stride that I like. I even have enjoyed something as terrible as Little Nicky, and that's not very defensible. But this movie is just horrible. It's not funny, and it's it's just painful. So I would just say this is a recommend. Don't spend your time on Coffee and Kareem. There are so many other good things you could watch. Go watch another episode of Tiger King if you have to, but don't spend your time on Coffee and Kareem. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Should have some more for you soon.